Hi all, welcome to the channel, welcome to the workshop. Today we have the penultimate episode of Build Kit from Knight Rider. So we only have one more delivery after this one. So let's get into it and let's get building. Okay, so here we are at the penultimate pack. So let's have a quick flick through the magazine as we always do. And these are the parts we get today. And we're doing a little bit with the inner rear boot section. We got that one last time, so we're just adding some parts to that. It doesn't look like we're actually putting it into the car on this issue, so that's what we're going to end up with at the end of this stage. Right, so this is what we have. We have this little panel. We have a strut. I believe that's for the boot. We have a seat belt. We have this tiny little piece. And we've got a couple of BP screws and some KP screws. So the first thing we're going to be doing is placing this tiny little hook into the hole we have here. Now it will only go in one way round. It does have a shape keyhole. Right, there it is. That's in there like so. Now we need the part we had last time, which is this one, and that is going to go just in there. And we are going to be securing it from the back with two BP screws. Now, obviously, that is bright white. I don't ever remember that being bright white in Knight Rider. So, if you've got the door carpets, etc. from Mike Lane, this is where Mike Lane will come in handy, and we'll have a nice bit of paneling to go over the top of that white, and I'll do that towards the end. But for now, we'll just secure that in place with the two BP screws. We have one in there and another just in here, like so. We're now going to take our seat belt and we're going to thread it through the slot that's just there. We're then going to be securing it to this post here using one of the KP screws. Now, I've used these before. These are the very sharp, pointy screws. So they will pierce the belt and go into the hole. Just like so. So that's now held in there nice and solidly, and it's coming out like that. Now, the very last thing we need to do is get our piston, and we're going to be attaching that to that hole just there, and we're going to use the BP screw for that one. Now, it does show that we're using the thinner end, so that goes on there, like so. There we are. So that is in there just like that, and that is the end of that stage. Right, so here we are, issue 104. I'll just have another quick flick through the magazine. Now, obviously, when you buy these, you are paying for the magazine as well, and they are really good quality magazines. And obviously, someone's done some research into putting all this together as well. So when people say that it sounds really expensive for the model, well, at least you've got the model to show for it. And I bet some of us will probably just get a magazine subscription that ends up in the recycling at some point. Whereas these are certainly something that you can keep hold of. Now, it looks like we're doing a little bit to the boot lining at the minute. the rear section. And we're doing some cable tidy, and we're putting this section in that we done earlier, and then putting in the rear section there. So end up with something that looks like that. So these are the parts we've got this time. So it's the rear boot lining. We've got what looks to be a catch of some description, and a couple of little parts. We've got some GM screws and BP screws. And the first thing we're going to be doing is getting this piece, and we're going to be placing it into this piece, just like that. Now there is a little recess for it, and again there is a D-shaped pattern to make sure that goes in there the right way around. Again, just another slightly fiddly part to get that in, and then we're going to secure that in place with a BP screw. So that's in there just like so. Then we're going to take this assembly and we're going to be attaching it to this part here. And we're going to be doing that this way around. It's going to go over those two lugs, and as you can see, the catch then shows through there. A couple more BP screws to hold that one in place. Just like so. So here we have the body. And we're going to need to flip this over. Again, watch out for your windows and your T-tops, etc. And we're going to be concentrating on this side. Just going to make sure those belts are fully out of the way. And what we need to do is take our wires that are coming from the top, and we need to run them behind these two posts that are here. It might be a little bit easier if you just try and straighten them out a little bit, just so that they conform to what you're asking it to do. And now we have our wires in place. We need to take this clip, and that is going to secure it, the wires just in here. And we're going to use a GM screw to hold that in place. And first time on this issue going into metal, so I have dipped this in oil. So just ensuring not to trap the wires with that clip. Going to put that in there nice and tight, just like that. Now we are putting in this section as well. Just going to make that a little bit smaller. Now when we put this in, we have this little lip here, so that's going to go underneath this section here. And we want to make sure that the cables are poking out this corner here. So they're going to be just there. Obviously, want to make sure that we don't trap any of the seat belts either. Right, so what I've done, I've just loosened off this screw to make this bit go in a little bit easier. And we've got 3 GM screws to go in here. So starting with this one here. And then we have one more GM screw just to go in the middle here. Now, because I know we've got the other one to do, I'm not going to retighten that screw up, or this one, because we're going to have the same issue where we need to slide this piece in behind this section here. So I do strongly recommend that you loosen those 2 screws. That'll make it a lot easier. Right, so now that that is in, we're going to take this piece here, and that is going to go into, we've got a lug just here that's going to go into a hole. And we've got 2 screw holes here that need to line up. And we're going to use 2 BP screws to hold that one in place. Just like that. And then we're finishing off this with final BP screw, and that is just going in here to secure those two parts together, like so. And that is all there is to do in that stage. Now, we don't actually need the body for the next stage, but we will need it for the last one. Now, as you can see, that now latches shut, which is absolutely brilliant. So I'm just going to move the body out of the way, and we'll crack on with the next stage. So now we're moving on to issue 105. Again, just a quick look through the magazine. Surprised no one's come up with a mod for this one, actually. This is the grappling hook. Obviously, I've seen Mike Lane's mods for the tow bar bumper and everything like that. But yeah, I haven't seen one with a grappling hook yet. Now, even my 1/18th scale model kit has a grappling hook, so maybe it's something missed off this one. But as you can see, we've got a very similar part this time, but obviously we're working on the other side of the rear boot of the boot at the moment, and doing something very, very similar to what we've just done. So we're putting this piston in place. We're putting this little piece in place. I still don't understand the relevance of that tiny, tiny little bit of plastic. Now, I did glue mine in last time, so I'm going to do the exact same thing this time around. But just going to put the mount in, and we're going to have the result of that inner boot area. And then on the next stage, we are actually going to be adding this to the car. So step one, we are taking our BP screw and our piston, and we're going to be placing that, as we did before, just in there. Like so. That might be a little bit stiff. Now, I don't know whether these are meant to be stiff or not. Obviously, if you have them stiff, they potentially hold the boot open because the boot's not very heavy. Although, I'm not sure that would give you any resistance. So, we'll find out when it's on the car and attached, which I believe we will be doing this issue. Now, I'm going to turn this over because we do have this little tiny piece, and that pushes into this section here. Now, surprisingly, that's actually gone in pretty well. Last time I had a real nightmare with that. The pegs weren't formed very well, but that now fits in, and that one's not going to fall out, so I'm going to leave that one like that, so not bother gluing that one. We then have our mounting bracket, and that is going to go in here. We've got a lug and a screw hole, and they're just going to go over there like so. And another BP screw will hold that one in place, just like so. And that is all there is to do in that stage. So we're going to move on to the next stage. Okay, so the last stage of the penultimate build pack. And as you can see, we're working on this section here, basically the same as what we've done a couple of sessions ago. And then we're adding that into the bodywork as well. And then we're also attaching those two struts as well. And that's what we end up with this time around. Right, so we're going to start off with this little tiny clip. Again, that's going to go just in here. Again, only one way round. That's just going to push in like so. And then we're going to be attaching that in the same fashion, just in there. 2 BP screws to hold that one in place. One in there. And one in there, like so. We're going to grab our seatbelt, pop it through the slot, and secure that in place with a KP screw. So that's looking just like that. Got that in nice and securely. Now we're going to need to bring the bodywork up, and we're going to put this in the body. And then, as before, we're going to be placing it behind this little section here. We've got a couple of little lips just here. Again, just going to make sure that this screw is probably a little bit looser. And then we're going to be placing it just in here. Now, I will just open up the boot just to give me a little bit more room to maneuver it. And we do have a little lug at the back here that also needs to go into place. So now we're just going to secure it with GM screws. Now, obviously on this side we don't have the wires to contend with this time around, which makes it a little bit easier. That's the last one just in there. So we've now got that secured in place, and if you've done like me, don't forget to retighten these screws. And as before, we still have a BP screw to go in just here. Like so. And now we're going to flip the car back over, and we're going to secure those two pistons in place on the boot lid. Right, so we've got the two pistons here and here. Now, it might be easier to do this with the car on its side, and we need to place them just where you've got the little bracket here. So we're going to extend those out, line it up with that, and then a BP screw will hold that in place. Now, obviously, don't let the car lean on this because the boot section is only plastic. So you do need to support the car, and obviously support the strut when placing it in as well. We've just got one BP screw going in there. And then I think I'm going to leave it in this position for the second one. And that's in there just like so. And as you can see, that now opens and closes and actually holds itself up quite well, which I am a little bit surprised about considering how loose they seemed, but that is absolutely perfect. You can leave it open at any angle you like. And that is all there is to do in that stage. That is all there is to do in the penultimate pack of Knight Rider. And I will just open that up and you can have a quick look in at how that's looking. So that's the trunk section. Now we do have a little glove box here. Now I have to say, you may remember that I have done a little bit of a switch mod for this so that you can turn on different lights and things. Now, absolute genius idea. I can't remember your name, I do apologize, but someone who bought one has put the switch in this little trunk section so that you can just open the trunk up and do the switching there, which I think is an absolutely brilliant idea. I personally put it underneath the car, as you know, but I think that is another brilliant location. I am still doing a couple of switch mods, so if you are interested, now is the time to do it. You do not want to go any further than this because the next part will be when the body goes on and it will be finishing kit, and then it'll be an absolute nightmare to try and redo cabling, etc. This is the point where you want that switch mod if you're going to do it. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please remember to give it a big thumbs up. So that's the penultimate build pack of kit now done, which is absolutely brilliant. There's not going to be much to do in the next episode, I am sure, because the majority of the work has been done as far as I can see. the biggest thing is going to be marrying the body up to the chassis. If you want to see that, please do remember to hit the subscribe button and ding that bell, and then you'll be notified when I release the next videos. Until the next time, I'll see you around. Cheers!